Benevolence, Davidemetri right back at you.
Blessing me quick back at home easy. There's me boxes of our big beats.
Greetings.
You use the hysteria.
We're here at the Bernie Sanders rally in San Bernardino, California. Hey!
What's happening?
Great ideas. We can synergize this energy.
Benevolence, I'm Davidemetri, and I'm live in color. Benevolence, you're vibing with Davidemetri, and we are live in color. Keeping the vibes cool, clean, and unified with
Aly.
Yo, we just coming to drop it to you. It's 2024 pretty much. Why? Because it's New Year's Eve, and this is not the Eden. This is not the evening, but we trying to drop some jewels to you because we care. And although it's entertainment, this is our entertainment and edutainment segment. We trying to get a little serious with you, but we're gonna keep it cool. So relax. You know what I'm saying? And thank you for tuning in and vibing in. But today, we got to talk about some real shit, because there's some real shit going on in this world. So this episode of Davidemetri Live in Colors, edutainment, entertainment, edutainment segment, we talking about ego and fear going forward. Ego and fear going forward. Now, ain't that serious? Yes, it is, because there's a lot of shit going down. What do you say about that subject?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of stuff going down. Ego and fear, a lot of people don't think it's linked, but it is. Sometimes you can have ego-driven fear.
Okay. I'm digging it. That's real talk. That's realness. So y'all, just chill, because everything ain't here. Like I said, this is the entertainment edutainment segment. So we talk about education and how entertainment and education really is about a mind freak. They like to screw your mind up, your consciousness. You know what I'm saying? From birth. I mean, look at the stories of child entertainers in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just obnoxious what's been going on. But we also got to give credit that a lot of changes have been going on, but power is being misused. And so what I want to start, because it's the ego and fear going forward talk, I want to start with fear. It's a nod going. It's like a nod, a throb, like somebody tied me down on that movie Saw, and they dropping a drip on my head constantly. I've been being tied up for years in a dark. You can hear the rats running. That's kind of like what fear is doing to me, and what fear is trying to do to you, and what fear is trying to do to all of y'all. So dealing with going forward into 2024, what is an area of life that you think fear is really, really grabbing people and really shutting their nervous system down subconsciously? You wouldn't admit that fear is ruling you or bothering you, but where it actually is, where would you say is an area in life commonly worldwide?
Yeah, usually at the end of the year, start of the new year, people are very fearful about what's next for them. And a lot of people around this time, they're fearful about uncertainty. Like uncertainty in their, life sustainability, like their finances or homes, things like that, or just the basic resources that will be like available to them, for them.
Yeah, that's deep, because that's an everyday thing that people deal with. They drill with it. Y'all drill with it at home in your life. I mean, I think pretty much even as a child I had to deal with bills, because I grew up in poverty in a city called San Bernardino, California. So even when I visit my family and stay with my family in LA or in Las Vegas, it was still fucked up. It was like, we had to go to the we would go to the grocery store and beg, like as children, like something they do in third world countries. we was a little black family doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I have to say this though, I'm the only one in my family for my whole age that was this light skinned. Everybody was dark skinned. Now, I didn't grow up with this where I get the light skinnedness from. My dad was the light skinned, and I grew up with fear because I didn't have a dad. He was a total negligent dad. He was. I knew who he was. You know what I mean? He was in my life till I was like 10 years old, and you know, some things happened, and he just jumped up and left. He wasn't with my mom, period. But he was still in my life until I was 10 years old. After that, he was gone until like 2010. So my point is, I had to live with fear. I didn't have grandparents. My mom didn't have a mom. She was killed. My grandmother was killed. She didn't have a dad. And my mom's mom was the only child. So there wasn't no aunties. My mom didn't have aunties or uncles. My mom was on her own to take care of me. And it was during the crack cocaine and crippling blood era. So I had to deal with and I'm the oldest. I had to deal with a lot. All that domestic violence going against my mom. And I never had a break. Like, fear has always been a gripping, like, determination. Like, fear of not being able to have the equipment for this production. I've been wanting to do this. I was running around Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Riverside. I would go to their public television stations and get certified to their productions way back in the mid 90s and late 90s, just so that I can check out the camera. I always been doing this way before social media. I went to school I have a associate's degree in communications and mass media, and production. And then I moved forward to the university and do the same thing before I got my political science degree. But the whole while, my life was full of fear because I didn't have no help, no dad, nobody. So I gave that story just so people can know they're not alone. And they can check with my book, Outline to Empowered, How to Do and What to Know for Evolutionary Living. You're going into 2024. This is a manual that she's holding up, and that poster behind her. This is a how-to manual, okay? This book will check you and teach you how to deal with that and not give up, what to do to get money and different things in the system if you're coming from poverty. You see, things that I had to learn the hard way and how to maintain. Because living situations, like you said, funding could be real screwed up for people. You know, there's masses. I'm supporting those of y'all that had to start off with a GED and you dropped out and you was hustling it. You didn't get locked up, but you know people are jealous of you and your family and they hating, and you know you at the bottom and you the one of the family that's conscious. Everybody else is just deaf, dumb, and blind and ignorant and got the nigga mentality. Because I went through that. I want y'all to know you're not alone. But how about those that have a good life? Aren't they still fearful?
Yeah, I mean, there's fear in everyone's life, whether, you know, you're in poverty or, you know, just above that, or, you know, even middle class. You can be fearful about, like I said, uncertainty in things. Like, are you going to be doing the things that are destined for you?
Yeah.
You know, coming in the new year, you know, are these investments the right ones?
Yeah.
Is spending time and energy like on certain projects or ventures going to be worth your time and, you know, reap something for you?
Yeah.
After a period of time, you know, there's a lot of things that people can be fearful about, or even fearful about expectations, right, from other people. So fearful that someone may feel, you know, some type of way or disappointed, you know, if they decide, you know, college isn't for me, I'm gonna, you know, stop, you know, going and gonna pursue this great opportunity that I have.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different fears that people can have from all, you know,
Yeah.
quote unquote financial class levels.
Wow, that's deep. You know, those are two perspectives that are different. See, because she's coming from the perspective of a young person, and when I say young, you know, 14 through, you know what I'm saying, 40. Like you could be going through those sort of things. I want you to slide your mic a little bit towards yourself, but keep it the same distance. There you go. A little bit closer. There you go. Nice. No, a little bit out, just a bit. There you go, right there. So y'all, we keep it in humble, as you see. We're not really trying to do the big entertainment thing right now, because we trying to get real and get to some solutions. We want y'all to relate, all right? But we really mashing the place up with this vitality, and I think we're going into 2024, and I know it's an election year. Like, that's straight madness. It's straight madness going into this 2024 election year. Think about it, y'all. It's like it's a laughing matter though, because it's so much bullshit going on with the polarization, with the election, and really it's there causing fear. Both sides have been fear mongering, and I'm talking about the Republicans and Democrats, and I'm talking about the elections obviously in the United States of America for the presidential status. And when you say Republican, everybody thinks Donald Trump, because he used to be the president. He was the seated president. The last 4 years you had Joe Biden, and Joe Biden and the Democrats are known for fear mongering on blacks to get votes, and to get blacks to volunteer to support them and support them only. That's what the Democrats have been doing. I would say since Franklin Delano, Lyndon B. Johnson, it's been a good change going on with blacks going independent, not just Republican, and or being politically atheist. I'm a political atheist. Yeah, I vote. You can learn more about that from my book coming out soon. But I want to say that with the elections, that poor, economically deprived people, middle class, and upper, wealthier class people have a whole different experience when it comes to the United States of America, and when it comes to the political class versus the civil society class, and when it comes to political activity. And, you know, my degree in political science helped me to realize this. In studying political science in South Africa, in Southern Africa, during election year in their country and in our country, made me realize so much of a higher level. It's tragic what is going on with people in poverty around the world. But in the United States, it's a fraud, because technology make younger middle class and upper class people think that poor people that are young are not suffering as much as they are. And middle class, especially middle class non-blacks, and I would say upper middle class and wealthy blacks, lie to their children and tell them that it's those children's fault and those teenagers' fault what they're going through. That's fear mongering. That's divisive. And I feel going into 2024 election, that same mentality is pushing to lie for power, not allow truth to be taught in schools. You know, relevant truth, to lie about histories. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the different classes, I think they do tell stories to their kids to create fear, right, to drive a certain behavior outcome in them, right? So if they think that, you know, this person that's in my class or that I work with is in this position because they did something, let me not associate with them, because then they're going to drag me into whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Let me not do whatever it is that I think that they're doing, so I won't end up like that. And that's something that, you know, the fear driving that behavior, you know, in that person, definitely politics, you know, drives fear. You know, saying maybe these group of people, you know, did something, and that's why they're in the position that they're in, or because they did these things, we should, you know, not give them this, or they don't deserve this, or prevent them from this. So a lot of different things going on, or even the opposite of that, right? Like we know a couple different politicians on all levels, like they have promised certain things, you know, to people. Like, you know, you keep hearing some politicians promising to get some sort of reparations for black people, right? So kind of like the fear that I won't, you know, get those things if I don't support that, you know, politician.
Politrickster.
Yeah.
Politrickster with their politricks and their trick knowledge. Again, Davidemetri Live in Color. We're on our entertainment trainment segment, and we're talking about ego and fear going forward into 2024. I want to continue on with these elections. We will, but we're going to have a break from this. Check with our sponsor, check with the opportunities, davidemetri.com, etc., etc. Stay tuned. We're going to come back for more. Got a surprise for you. Benevolence. I have a gift to share with the world. I have authored or written a how to do and what to know book supporting anyone in achieving living an evolutionary life. This book was written for those of you that were born into poverty or possibly still living in poverty. Those of you that were born into self-hate and ignorance, that want to be aware, that want the knowledge and wisdom. Those of you that want the skills. For those of you that want to grow out of the lack and grow and evolve away from hate and sabotage. Remember, unlike other books, this is a reference book. You don't have to read it all the way through. You can go to the table of contents, and I'm sure from a childhood story or a teenage story or a young adult story, think about that. And then with the commentary after each story, teaching how to heal, teaching how to get in touch and reprogram your subconscious, there's no area of life where you're not going to benefit. This reference book is your go-to book for the future. Outline to Empower, How to Do and What to Know for Evolutionary Living. Available on all platforms, online and in store. Big up, one love. It's Davidemetri Live in Color with Aly. We dropping some jewels on y'all. This entertainment, edutainment segment, ego and fear going forward in 2024. That's what we're doing for y'all here in the New Year's. So, I want to get into this. We're talking about the election, and they are speaking deeply, publicly, in some recognizable news outlets. New media are really going in on the possibility of a staged cyber attack in order to divert the election. A staged cyber attack by the United States shadow government entities and possibly even world government entities in order to divert or stop the elections. What do you think of that? That's extreme fear mongering, but at the same time, it's a real potential probability.
I mean, it is extreme fear mongering, maybe to get people to not vote. But it is a potential, right? Like there have been other cyber attacks, whether they're staged or not, we don't know, right? With different types of information, or you hear about like a lot of medical facilities getting hacked and they can't use their equipment. But I think it's totally possible, especially with, was it during one of George Bush's elections where they had an issue with counting the votes, and that's paper. So, I mean, if you can create some kind of delay or mishap with paper, definitely you can do it, digitally with the electronic system too.
Exactly. We ain't even talking about voting yet, y'all. We talking about a staged cyber attack, what they call like a shadow government, that's beyond even the intelligence agencies of the United States government. A shadow government staging a cyber attack. Imagine that. I mean, that would be fucked up, right? To stop the elections, you know what I mean? And then considering what was it, January 6th, 2022, they did the attack on the Capitol. Was it 2022? And think about that. Now the threat, and I think these new media outlets that are very powerful, influential, that are speaking about this, I know that their sources are very reputable and in touch. yet I think that they're putting it out there to try to divert it from happening, because they have some very powerful citizens, citizenry, and political class people following them and listening to them, even though they're not the mainstream. They're not MSNBC. They're not CNN. They're not Fox. They're not BBC, or they're not even Al Jazeera. But they're putting out this about this so-called cyber attack, I believe, because they want to divert it. Because now you got intelligence agencies that possibly already had tips or ideas that might happen. Now they're going to beef up their efforts to stop it. So for me, it's scary. Election year is always scary for me, but yet it's exciting. Like I said, I studied it. I even lived in Jamaica during election year. I know a lot about elections and stuff and what goes down. But if that happened, I think it will push us in the second Civil War in the United States of America, a major cyber attack. How can the United States sustain that, considering there's so many groups that don't get along? There's so many groups that don't get along. And then the United States is so heavily armed. The citizenry, not even the military, not even law enforcement. The citizenry is the most heavily armed citizenry on this planet. So how can it not go into, I'm not saying it's going to go into chaos, but can it be a step toward the second Civil War?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely can be a step towards that. Because you gotta think about a couple of different things, like how malleable the general American citizens really are, right? A lot of people used to, we used to joke around about martial law, and there's a couple different movies that came out, the Purge movies and some other movies before that. And then it happens, right? So where everyone's told you gotta stay inside, and then majority of people complied, willingly, or you can only go to the stores at these certain times, and majority of people complied.
Now, with the complying, I have a question. How do you feel about complying? Should they comply? What is their intention in complying? Why would you just blatantly just obey?
Yeah, so I think it's out of part of it is out of fear, right? They comply out of fear, because if they do what is being instructed, then things can be okay later. But during those times, right, people still had their electronic devices, right? Everything still worked. Internet, for the most part, still worked. All the things still worked. But if we're talking about a major cyber attack, we're talking about, these communication grids where people won't have access to phone use or internet use, which is tied to most people's bank accounts, most people's way to pay bills,
Oh my goodness, a cyber attack would be destructive.
Yeah, most companies, method of providing things to their customers and knowing who has what or able to turn it on or off. More companies are equipped this way. Even hospitals, if you go to a hospital and the internet, just the internet was not even talking about electricity, was down. For the most part, it would be very, very low that they could assist, because they wouldn't even be able to check you in at that point. But
lost in a storm.
Yeah.
Stuck in the rapture. So my thing is, the election is itself is used for many different reasons. The big election, the presidential election especially, it keeps people in order. It keeps people in line. It's a way to pacify masses to me. And then you can pick and choose a specific individual to pacify masses by putting them in the office. You see what I'm saying? And I believe that's what Barack Obama being put in office and Donald Trump is to pacify those two polarized groups. You know what I'm saying? Second Civil War is a idea. It's not a reality in a sense. The whole world is in communication. We live in a whole different world. But the myth of the nation state is a long-held reality, yet people think that nation states have always been there. No, it used to be empire. It used to be queendoms and kingdoms. It used to be indigenous living. The nation state experiment didn't start and never. You have to go back to Adam Smith that wrote The Doctrine of Capitalism. That's where the term nation state started. So to understand that the end of the United States has to be the end of the nation state experiment. The second Civil War in the United States must be the end of the United States of America. World War III on the planet will be the end of the nation state experiment, the end of Western civilization, and that's what we're dealing with today is fears. How does these ideas just affect you if you never heard them? If you have, what do you think of them? We're going to be going in live soon. We're just starting off with some pre-recorded, but I'm going to be going live, and you can bring up things from our subjects and matters and add to from subjects that we talked about in previous episodes. So we've dealt with the fear coming and dealing with governmental elections and whatnot, even with economy. I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe, for me, if that doesn't happen in Taiwan, long as Taiwan and China situation stays cool, we're not going to go into World War III. Nothing will push us into World War III but that. Russia is part of Europe. They still white. You know what I'm saying? They still white. So you ain't got to worry about that pushing into World War III unless Putin has enough, of dealing with the bullshit, or the United States have enough and Israel have enough of dealing with Putin shit. But they aren't. They actually have good economic relations, Russia and United States and Israel. Although they have automatically nemesis. So ego and fear going forward in 2024 is a subject here in the edutainment segment. Davidemetri live in color. We just talk about politics, bills, relationships. How about going in 2024 with relationships, dealing with fear and egoism? Now we're going to cross over into ego. We're going to talk about ego. We talked about fear. Fear is still going to be talked about because it is one of the source causes of egomania. But we're going to real focus on ego. Let's start with relationships with family instead of doing the typical thing and talking about relationships between men and women. Let's talk about relationships with family and how egomania could sabotage going into 2024. Let's give these people some tips.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, egomania with family can come in different forms, especially depending on your role in the family. And I think that's where a lot of egomania can come into effect, right? Like you may be, a parent, right, and you start tripping on your kids or your brothers and sisters who are your kids, aunts and uncles, because you feel like you have to be the one that's doing the best or in control, and that can sabotage your relationships with your children or with your brothers and sisters. You can feel like you need to control them, right, because you are the oldest, let's say, or quote unquote the most well off, that you deserve to be overbearing and controlling of different people in your family. And there can be egomania, right, with kids. Like sometimes you see, these videos of, kids, and the parents have been pushing them to do well academically to the point to where the kid's burnt out, right? And they're like, Mom, Dad, whatever, I'm a kid, and I want time to play.
Absolutely, yeah.
I did everything you asked me to do.
That's why we got to give props That's a mind. Whenever you hear this, that's a mind trip. You got to give props to Venus and Serena Williams' dad, Richard Williams. He took them totally out of it. He said, I'm gonna give y'all a break. Who does that for years? Who does that? And they turn out to be the greatest ever, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say that black man was abusive. You can't say that black man, anything negative about that man, that heterosexual man.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you don't hear about that, right? Because they want to push their kids, you know, with, you know, in their ego mind, they're thinking, like, if I push them hard enough, they'll be great. Also, fear of them not, you know, being as great as they want them to be, which sometimes can be unrealistic, or sometimes drive them to doing something the opposite because, you know, they never want to be that vision that parent's pushing them to. But I think those are things that people should be cognitive of.
Yeah, they do.
know.
They do. I think that's a highlight. You got to be cognitive. You have to have a conscious competence about these things. Is being a parent if you're being extreme about anything. But I, for one, know that environment is one of the matters of which you parents or will be parents determines how hard you are justly pushing your son or daughter toward whatever ambitions that you have for them. Wow. If they don't have the proper environment, because success is based off of resources, support, and drive. If the environment isn't right, you can't expect too much of a child. A child needs to have the right environment to be good at certain things. So this is just a jewel, a drop of the knowledge you need to know. You need to study. You need to get into this book I wrote, Outline to Empower How to Do and What to Know for Evolutionary Living. Straight up, you know what I'm saying? Check with the website davidemetri.com. But let's continue here on David Demetri Live in Color. We talking on the ego and fear going forward in 2024. We're talking about ego and we're dealing with family relationships. She just spoke on some high level, direct, not ambiguous areas of where going into 2024 you need to be cognitive. Don't be the scapegoated son or daughter. Don't. If you are a teenager, fight against it. If you're a young adult, don't accept it at all. When they say ghost people, you have to leave them alone. You have to leave them family members alone. You have to cut them off and find people that love you and love them back and be able to relate with your family where it doesn't disallow you from healing from the pain they caused you. Are the alarms going off? You're not alone. That's the whole point. You are not alone. And so you also have to ask yourself, going through this process of healing, because now you're separated. It was a big explosion. There was a lot of hurt and pain and abuse. Now where are you going in life? It's 2024. Where are you headed in life? You understand? Are you going to allow yourself to be a victim any longer to people that you invite into your life? Or people you don't have choices of roommates. You don't have choices of neighbors. You don't have choices of who's going to be in a job with you or who's going to be in a class with you. But you have choices every day. You can decide how you're going to communicate with them and how much you let them into your space and into your energy field and into your BI'sness. Y'all gotta be with it. It's the real drill that we getting into. It's the relationship between men and women are the same. We're gonna talk about heterosexuals first. We don't have anyone here that is of the LGBTQ community. If anybody is thinking about hosting or co-hosting or getting experience, communicate, call in, email, DM, inbox, whatever it is. We are already looking at a couple of people that's going to come and represent y'all community, but you might be the one. But let's go and keep it heterosexual right now, and deal with pets. We need to deal with pets, animals, in nature. Okay, because we just talked about fear. We're going to go further into ego. Ego in dealing with your relationships with your woman if you're a man, or your man if you're a woman. Where is ego not invasive, and where is ego not sabotaging? Those are my questions for you. Where is ego not invasive, and where is ego not sabotaging? Does ego have value in relationship between men and women, in the relationship with men and women?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there is a form of, healthy ego, right? Most people equate it with, self-esteem, or maybe you're, overly bigging yourself up, for something, or even bigging up your significant other for something too, which is good, right? People need that, you need to feel good, even though it may be,
big up the masses,
unrealistic to some people that are looking in, right? But, they don't know, right? And that's something that's good. That's a way of showing, love, between each other, or even, within both of you guys, right? Portraying your guys'
good traits,
relationship and good traits, to others, right?
Yeah.
Having a good dose of healthy ego, which
healthy
we'll
ego,
call, self-esteem at that point.
As a young fish, what we're doing is I'm telling fish that they live in water. There's a young fish and an old fish, and the old fish says, "Hey boy, how's the water today?" And the young fish says, "What's water?"
She dropping jewels. Keep dropping them. Keep dropping them.
But yeah,
she teaching you with fish that you in water.
Yeah, a way ego can be like evasive, right? Is when I think a good sign is when you find yourself trying to control someone and overly control, right? Where you start to where it's like you're nitpicking at them, like to where you're making the situation uncomfortable to where you feel the other person doesn't feel like they can just be their self with you. Like that's a key sign that the ego is like evasive.
So the ego's causing fear. The egomania.
Yep, causing other problems. That's a key point for that person doing that, to take a look at their self, which is a lot of times that's rare, right? Because if someone's doing stuff like that, they're kind of on a trip, an ego trip, and usually it's up to the person that's receiving that for them to take a step back, right, and look at the situation, be like, is this realistic? Does this make sense? And not make sense based upon what that person driven by ego is saying, but on the actual reality, which is like a whole different conversation. But definitely, if you feel like you can't be yourself, in a intimate relationship with someone, those are questions you got to ask yourself, like, why is it that I don't feel comfortable? Is this person expecting, me to look a certain way all the time? Or if I, am just naturally quirky and like to joke,
Also, that's game. And also, it can hit you where somebody wants you to go out with them all the time. They don't ever want to just chill and relax. They need you to be laughing and giggling and happy and giddy all the time. You know what I mean? That's just not realistic. People need to know that you have injuries, you're hurt, you're feeling pain, they need to be for you. You're right. You got a headache, you need some sleep. Can't somebody, if you want to be in a serious relationship, if somebody doesn't accept you that you sleep, if they can't be there for you when you're asleep, you see what I'm saying? When you're injured. You know what I mean? This is when you're sick. There's a reason you got sick. There's a reason you got injured. You need to know. There's a reason why you went broke. But you didn't have to go broke to find out. You should have figured it out when they didn't support you to sleep. They needed you to come party all the time. You know what I mean? They needed you to not get sick. They left you dying when you were sick. So, yeah, you're kicking that real game. And these are the things that you don't want to get caught up with the ego. And also stalking. In 2024, when you talk about stalking, as she knows, a lot of women stalk me. It's a whole history of women stalking me and seeking to sabotage me. Women I don't even know. This hypocrisy that a man must have been messing with the woman. No, never seen them in my life. Moved in some apartments and they just start stalking me. It's acceptable in the communities. And it's ego driven. And it's the lust and the addiction to cause someone fear. These women want to cause men fear because they say to themselves, oh, the law is on my side, I could just lie on them. Or you got these types that because they're broke they're ghetto, they're gang related. They find the good guys and they want to fake like them good guys have something to do with them. And when the men don't want to have nothing to do with them, these are 40, 50-year-old women especially, not just 20-something-year-old women and teenagers. And they go and lie to other men. And they will sit there and go, you never know them, you never talk to them. And they are going lying to people saying, yeah, I was just over there hanging with them. Oh yeah, me and him lying saying the sex is good. So when they're ready, they can say, yeah, he hit me. He threatened me. He took my money. This shit is real bad. And it's ego driven. It's a spirit of false accusation. And it's a spirit of egomania. What do you think is causing? Because you saw a lot of women do this to me. It had nothing to do with these women. Don't know their name or nothing. Had to get the law enforcement against them. Had to almost go street. So why do you think? And I'm down here 50 years old. These is 50-year-old women who are older than me. I don't know them. Why are these women like that? What happened?
I mean, I think you already touched on a little bit, right? Spirit of, false accusation. I think for some of them, right, they see, you, and they're like, okay, like, this is where the ego comes in. They're like, oh, I own that, even though they may have.
Just from seeing it? Another human being? Isn't that slavery?
Yeah. And
so there's slavery, black people that want to be slave masters.
Yeah, and there's some people that are
women
are that sick.
Period. The race. Mm-hmm. And men too.
Yeah, there are some people that are that sick and that twisted egotistically to where they can see someone and want to own them or sometimes control them, right? We've been through that too, where people will see you and they'll be upset because, you have the natty dreads and facial hair and stuff. So that all those are ego driven, like on the other extreme of the, very malevolent, overbearing, egotistical, beings.
Yeah, that's some funny style ass shit. You know what I'm saying? Yet dangerous at the same time. And it's crazy because all this shit we was just talking about was the threat of the elections being shut down, but yet we still have to deal with when we walk outside. And I am being stalked right now, by the way. That woman, I don't know, high and by, like crazy, is just infatuated, like leeching, and yet being threatening because they can't get what they want. And that's a female. So imagine, and there's a male over here that tried that with me, but I let him come to the boxing gym. When somebody see you can move, and that's just a term some fighters use, they realize the men back up because they know it ain't gonna go down the way they thought. Right. But I can't threaten a woman, so that's where law enforcement comes in. But in dealing with the ego, how does is it egomania to want to demand a certain level of materialism from your mate, from your love partner? Is it egomania to demand them to pay for the holidays, like do all this spending on birthdays? How does that? Where do we match that with ego?
Yeah, of course. Like if we're talking about extreme things, right? Especially when it's not something the person can afford and it's creating a strain. Yeah, that is purely ego driven. Yeah. But maybe one mate wants the other one to fulfill all these things, buying all these gifts, all these trips, and it has to be a certain type of rose, and if it's not this certain type of rose, then it's not shit. Those things are ego driven, and that's where that other person, you can't expect the ego person to take a step back a lot of the times because they're already wrapped up. So the person experiencing it, they got to take a step back, and reflect on that situation. But on a more sensical sense, if you're with someone and you expect, okay, like I expect you to be making some kind of income just to provide for yourself, right? That's not egotistical.
No, not at all.
Realistic, or
and even if they want to see you do big things, and drive and push you to, like I don't think that's egomania for someone to want, like you're my woman, you're my wife, you want me to do this. It was up to me to get to learn to use all these softwares and this and this and to spend time other than making money to learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And you pushed me, and I felt that was a good thing.
Yeah. Or even, you know, just generally wanting to, you know, do something fun or go on a trip. You know, it's not egotistical if someone wants to do that.
Right.
But in balance, right? To where it makes sense, right? If someone, you know, if they're like, hey, like, you know, I really, you know, enjoyed my birthday, or I really enjoyed the holidays and I would like to do something, right? And, you know, not do the polar extreme and just, you know, sit around on chairs and do nothing.
Right.
Right. That's reasonable, right? That's a conversation to what, you know, that looks like and, you know, what acceptable looks like in balance, right? And then if you start finding, you know, little triggers there or things where things become extreme and out of balance and, you know, came to agreement on things and the person's unhappy because, you know, not going to the mountains on Christmas or not, you know, buying every single person in the family plus the cousins plus the friends and the boyfriends all a gift of $100 or more, right?
That's just nonsense.
You know, it's nonsense, right? At that point, it's driven by ego, even if you can't afford it, right? Like, it's that expectation. If you like to do it, you can do it. It's within reach.
Right.
That's fine. Sounds like, you know, both are equally matched. But if there's an imbalance, right, definitely something that, you know, either individual should take a step back and reflect on.
I'm in total agreement and appreciation and gratitude for everything you just said. We're going to go to another break. Benevolence, love every time. Davidemetri, live in color with Aly, keeping it vibes, cool, clean, and unified. Of course, that's what we do. Keep driving, communicate, Davidemetri.com. Check out the book and the film outline, because we are empowered. A childhood of violence.
Anpu, this is your life story repeating as dreams.
Look, I'm proud of you for enduring so much and for getting your higher education.
After decades of being alone and not understood caused sabotage. It is not only our ancestors and ancestral jurisdictions that are sending us these laws. Oh, we have something other than that, because we were sent here from that future.
The ancestors has given us evidence that upon the reawakening, you need to have neurofeedback therapy.
I am sharing dreams with you.
We just dropped some jewels to y'all. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You got to control 9 planets. Wisdom revolves around me understanding. This is what we are. We are the center of our own experience. We are the vibration. We attract that we reflect. Let me say that again. You attract that you reflect. You are the center of your own universe and out of earth. And that goes without ego. That has nothing to do with what you think. It is whether you like it or not. That's the way it is. That's the way love goes. Relationship ego dealing, it's impossible not to have ego. So in an argument, in a debate between a man and a woman in their relationship, if someone's being egotistical and another's a little bit more experienced, and they say, hey, you're being ego, that should not be taken as an insult. That's something you put in perspective. For you or me or her or anyone to feel insulted because someone's saying you're being egotistical, how could you take that as an insult? I mean, I've been told that. I never took it as an insult. I told people that, and time and again, they took it as an insult. But now that we go back, I'm not missing them, they're missing me. And so I want to swerve into the no return. Because your asses will get ghosted. You know what I'm saying? Just like somebody calling in, debating with me here on the show, because we will be going live coming into January. If you go too far, you get ghosted. It's the same thing. If you ego clashing with someone because of wherever you're at with yourself, or if someone's ego clashing with you, if you're ego clashing, that anger inside of you, you have a lack of control. You can't, in dealing with them, get past your frustration with them. That doesn't justify that they're the cause of your frustrations, your emotional pain. It also doesn't justify that you are right. So the saying, if you keep running into these people pain so much in the form of them disagreeing with you and angry and bitter, you have to acknowledge to your innocent, good emotional, positive emotional self, they're frustrated and angry and they keep taking it out on me. You need to ghost they ass and have a good time. It is 2023 and I will drop a motherfucking rhyme because you need to come on time and get in line, and you need to let go of other people's pain. Nobody grown coming in your life is your damn full-blown responsibility. If you make comments with them and you sleep with someone, you have made a comment with them. If you make verbal agreements with them, or if you continue to act in behavioral patterns of support to them, yes, you are in a comment to them. Yes, you have duties and obligations. But at any time, you have the right to refrain from those behavioral patterns and to, by properly, honestly communicating with them and even showing in your pattern, I'm withdrawing from the comment. Can you give them some healthy methods and ways of withdrawing from comments? Y'all need to know when you are in comments with other people. Otherwise, their egomania and their ego drivenness and the fear that they're fear-mongering and the fear they're causing in you is your own responsibility. And that's when you're grown. Can you give them some tips on withdrawing from comments?
Yeah, so I would say the first step is to, one, realize that you want to withdraw, and maybe even ask yourself, like, what are the reasons, like, why you want to withdraw from it, and even see, like, okay, like, have I been in this similar situation before, as far as the reasons that I want to withdraw and, you know, the actions that I see that person doing. Definitely do that, take that step back to that self-reflection, and then once you're like, okay, like, you know, I do want to withdraw, if you have a therapist, let's say you even talk with them, you know, communicate to that person, be like, hey, you know, these are some things that, you know, that I don't feel good about, or that, you know, are disrupting, you know, my persona, and communicate about it, right? Can't guarantee that person's going to be receptive to it, especially if they're ego-driven, very deep into that. There could be a high possibility they won't even hear you, right? They're just going to probably blow up.
Demonic possessions at that point. They have no control over it.
Yeah, or... Stop
expecting them and trying to help them to become positive. You see how that music made you go positive? Negative?
Yeah, or, you know, instead of blowing up, they can potentially attempt to, you know, ghost you or take a step back and then to try to reel you back in to what it is. But I would say once you make a decision, you should stay grounded in that if that you feel like that's the right decision. And once you communicate it, like, stand on what you communicated, right? You gotta be there and show up for yourself and stand up for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you got to set those boundaries after that. So if it's like, okay, like, I know we were in a relationship and, you know, it's not working out, so, like, we're not going to be sexually intimate anymore.
Or even talking.
Yeah. You need to set that boundary and, you know, keep it while it may be hard for you to also keep it. you have to, again, like show up for yourself and creating that separation. Some situations you may have to cut it off like cold turkey, cut everything off, communication, contact, and you might not have to deal with them anymore. You might have to block their number.
Your ass got cut off cold.
And every situation is different. Or it can be a situation where the person, is reasonable and you guys can, scale back and they can keep the boundaries healthily, and maybe you guys end up just, friends, which can happen. But usually when you're dealing with someone that's...
I don't know. I think that's two-faced. I think that's being two-faced because, you know what? You need time.
Yeah,
because the whole reason is the two people are clashing. Yeah. They're ego clashing, right? There's fear there. Yeah. Fear causes anger. Anger causes, hostility, hate, and hate causes suffering. That's the sequence. Yoga taught you that in Star Wars. So you just need some time. You can see each other at parties. You need time. That's what I think. I don't think people are supposed to try to play friend directly after relationships.
Yeah, I mean,
they need a complete break.
Yeah, you do need to take a break and you do need to set those boundaries. But if we're talking about steps, right, we don't know what that time looks like. It could be, 1 year, 5 years. It could be, a week. Maybe you guys need to physically separate distances. Some people move after something like that because they're like, I'm not going to be able to deal with this person. And
they cut off social media, everything.
When I go to the grocery store,
they cut them off they pull a Ninja Turtle on them.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? They going into DOS effects mode, jump in the sewer, turn Ninja Turtle. They coming straight from the sewer.
Yeah.
But I want to jump from that to back to and mix this subject because you just dropped jewels. You don't get to learn everything in one talk from her. She's here with me. But we're talking about fear and ego and fear going forward in 2022. We're talking about the relationship between men and women. We just gave you some tips, whatnot. But I want to talk about this back with the fear and ego, how it works together, because that right now these black men have really been on siege. Now they're even going after the podcaster and vidcasters. You just have DJ DJ academics. That you know what I mean? That was a psychedelic. Academics. That's what it is. I seen the video. That girl wasn't just screaming. That girl, something was physically going on, and you can even hear the rustling going on. So all these Puff Daddy, P Diddy or whatever, whoever he wants to be next, he's a staple in the hip hop and in the music, entertainment, and fashion. He's a huge guy. He's like the second Russell Simmons, right? But yet he has the music talent and stuff, and and so all this terrible stuff he's supposed to have did. Now it's all coming out. He was involved in Tupac and Biggie's killing. Biggie was taking all the artists away from Aristide and Bad Boy. Then a month later, Biggie's dead. Clive Davis and Puff Daddy. This is just talk. There's no facts. Don't take it from me. You know what I'm saying? I've just got some information, and you got all these other people they're coming out on that are black males mostly. The guy Jason. I just did a talk about it. Jason, the actor. Jonathan Majors. I mean, this type of shit is just everywhere. So going into 2024, I feel that black men are scared. I feel that black men are afraid. I feel it's so bad that black women are afraid for the black men. Black women that, be fighting with black men are even afraid for them. They're starting to, all the men already in prison that have already been in the prison pipeline. They get out and try to get their life. Most guys that have been in prison, they don't really go anywhere in life after that. Now the guys that are making it, I mean, how do you sisters feel? You can't speak for but I know for a fact, if you read my book, Outline to Empower, you can see I went through a scare when I was 16-year-old when I was falsely accused of rape. I never had sex with a woman. I went in a room with her and she tried to mess with me, but she didn't ask me to come over there. I was over there hanging with her brothers, and I was selling them I used to sell drugs. And like, I'll go in the room, the door ain't closed and nothing, it's wide open, the people are all in the hallway. She tried to jump on me, she was friends with my girlfriend. I'm like, no, and I start bagging on her and clowning her in front of everybody. So she, after that, started claiming I raped her and all this different shit. And she tried to push it because her family members who were gang related tried to play gang bang on me, and then our families had a feud over that shit. So I was lucky, you know, I got to beat some people up and get the shootout with some people. But that was the early 90s. But look at Jonathan Majors. That's a well-to-do American male, heterosexual male, who was bragging and showing who his woman was. And the next second, he's her worst enemy, and the worst thing ever happened to her. She's not Coretta Scott King, isn't that what she was saying? She's not Malcolm X's wife. Wasn't he supposed to be saying that to her and all this different stuff? And I'm not saying he's innocent. No, I don't think he's innocent. I think when there's two people fighting, there's two people fighting, no matter what. But I'm afraid. And I feel like sometimes I'm not very successful at entertainment and social media and stuff because the universe, the Almighty, loves me and doesn't want that to happen to me. What do you think about that?
I mean, all of those things are about perspective. I think definitely with all of the accusations going on in the media, yeah, it could definitely be a scary time for black men, because you're like, oh shoot, like, you know, is that going to happen to me? Mm-hmm. And then because you have other people that are not black men watching it, other people may feel like it's okay to also accuse, even if it's false, and that creates a problem, and that breeds, you know, fear, you know, in those men, and then fear in the women, because they're just like, crap, like someone, you know, can just say that, you know, a black man in my life, my, you know, son.
And by the way, y'all, we're saying race specifically, not just because we're ethnically foundational black Americans. I didn't just say black, I said foundational black Americans. I know about that. I'm with that. But it's because we have a whole lot more to lose. Everybody's life is equal to us. We're not trying to say white men aren't going through this or Hispanics. But what we're saying is the accusation, the spirit of false accusation and abuse of black men is just been normalized for the last few thousand years. In the United States of America, it's been a sport. And that's why we're saying black. Go ahead.
Yeah, so all of that breeds fear in both, and then fear in women that have, you know, black men in their lives, fear that
your sons,
right, whether they're like your sons, you know, parents, you know, cousins, friends, that something could happen to them, you know, because someone accuses them of something, which happens, you know, often. But it just creates the bigger fear because now you're seeing it, right?
So is that going to be gone now that we're going in 2024? All of a sudden, all heterosexual males say, and why aren't gay men being accused of anything? Why are gay men never wrong? I'm not saying that they are not going through things. I'm not saying that they're out there hurting people. I'm just asking a question. Why is it just the heterosexual men being accused?
So we know that, what's his name? The pastor dude?
T.D. Jakes.
Yeah, I thought he was already...
Oh, we talking it, we bring it.
Yeah, I thought he was already accused, because there was another one, I can't remember his name, but another TV pastor like that was already accused and I believe convicted, and he was messing with like young men.
It's a lot. It's on social media real bad.
But the thing
giving
is, like,
them HIV and stuff.
Right, but
these
the
pastors.
thing is, like, even in those situations where you're dealing with, let's say, those pastors or even, you know, men of other races, they never say that they're gay or bisexual or a member of like the LGBTQ community. It just says that they were, sexually assaulting, molesting, whatever, the men, right? I think that's something that is interesting, and the way that the media portrays, those situations.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And you know what I gotta say though? I do have to say this. When people, this is where it's egomania. That's part of the discussion. People that make it and want to make it in hip hop, rap, being a rapper, males, black males, as actors, as rappers, as MCs, as producers, ain't none of y'all Tupac, man. Ain't none of y'all that down and hard. And you know what? You're not gonna make it from the bottom up like he did. Nobody y'all see actually brought themselves out of poverty like that, but Tupac. None of them. They gave up booty. I'm saying it. They did all kind of shit. They snitched. You know what I'm saying? They sabotage good, positive people. They turn themselves from positive to negative. They stop being righteous people. I'm not gonna say godly because not everybody that's righteous is godly is righteous. But and some of them stop being God bodies. They stop being 5%ers and still claiming it. But I'm gonna say this: if you turned against your heterosexuality, committing acts with Puff Daddy and with his clique, just like if you turn from your virginity or gave up your peace sexual and you gave it all up to R. Kelly and his crew, just because y'all wanted to be seen as somebody, just because y'all wanted to become the top dog of your clique, or you wanted to be known that you had this hit song or whatever, you're not a victim of Puff Daddy. You're not a victim of R. Kelly. Now, she might disagree with me. We don't run an echo chamber here. This is Davidemetri Live in Color. Come in, you can agree to disagree. We get it. But, you want water. And guess what?
What we're doing is, I'm telling fish that they live in water.
Okay? So, oxymorons. That's what egomania does to you. That's why we're having this talk. Fear causes egomania in a big way. So you get in a situation, your desires, not fear, made you wanted to be a rapper, made you wanted to be a producer, made you wanted to be that actor. But then the casting couch came at a party in the form of you getting grabbed and hugged on and all stuff. You went along with it a little while. You like, if it go too far, I'm gonna do this. But then you got snatched in a room, and those guys were grabbing on you, and this and before you know it, they even brought it up when you was like, I'm gonna leave. They're like, well, you ain't gonna get the job. So whoever you are, you said, shit, and you sat up there, and you ended up hiding that you're gay now. Why are you hiding it? And then why are y'all claiming that you're victims to Puff Daddy? You wanted to have sex with other men. Now, if they're stopping you from getting jobs and you refuse the sex and all this, yeah, come on. If they did wrong you, but if you voluntarily, as a woman, was sleeping with Bill Cosby, you see what I'm saying? You're a grown-ass bitch at that. You a prostitute. You been giving head jobs and stuff for sex. You get high. You use Quaaludes. Why the fuck would... That's why we're scared. Because we can see through the bullshit and see the gray lining. You see what's behind the fucking veil. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, for what I know of some of these people, they got power hungry and they misused their power and they were abusing people. I get it. I beat their ass myself. But you gotta have both sides. You got to be able to realize what's going on. And these black male people, politicians and power and stuff, they're not getting a chance for people to hear their side. These heterosexual males aren't getting a chance. Not everybody is monsters, but aren't people monsters that use the spirit of false accusation to hurt innocent people? Are they monsters? The false accusers? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but that's when a person in that situation, they gotta stay rooted within themselves, because at the end of the day, like, they're not able to tell their story. It's like media, right? Different forms of media, painting a particular picture, whether it's in their favor or not in their favor. Like, that's the driving force of what the masses of people are seeing and receiving to get their perception and perspective of what happened in that situation. That they were not there to witness. They don't even know either one of the people in the situation. Right. 99% of the time. So it's like the media is like that driving force of perpetuating whatever perspective they want other people to have.
I don't know. Listen, this is my thing. I don't blame pastors. They say, oh, that pastor, he over there brainwashing the people and getting all their money and driving all that. He ain't no good. I don't believe that. I believe they're no good, but I believe them people are no good giving them the money. I believe the people involved in lying to their children and telling them a big white dude with a big white beard, fat guy, gonna wear a red shirt, come with some reindeers and drop some stuff, although they're living in damn near one paycheck away from poverty and homelessness. But you still lying to your children and this, and you still going to give that money to that church. That ain't the pastor. They don't. Y'all need to get them dumbass people in check. Them dumbass people sitting out there being a slave to the imams at the Muslims, and if you got Muslims out there that if a black man doesn't want to be a Muslim, they will literally stalk you and threaten you and want to kill you. If you get locked up, they'll try to beat you and kill you. Like, the whole religion thing is just out of whack. Because people are out of whack. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I think God let people, like, if Puff Daddy lets a man in, Puff Daddy is actually guilty. He has something, him and Jimmy Iovine has something to do with Biggie dying. And Tupac. You know what I'm saying? And raping and beating the hell out of that girl and blowing that guy's car up. I'm talking about Puffy. And Bill Cosby was giving women quaaludes and this and this and this and this. Do what you're going to do to them. But shouldn't there be some laws and some expectations of suffering for people that falsely accuse? If you falsely accuse, I believe you should suffer. And I'm not talking about when you get old, like how that white woman that just passed away and she the one that falsely accused Emmett Till. The United States government, the sitting president now named the president, the old decrepit Joe Biden. That dude supported her, didn't want her to suffer anything. But look what they did to Emmett Till because of her lies. And that's what I'm talking about, because I was falsely accused in many different circumstances. Other men falsely accusing me. I know how it feels to be falsely accused. Different type of stuff. The spirit of false accusation is something I talk about in my book, Outline to Empower. It's something. The spirit of false accusation is destroying the black human race in the United States of America. Period. It's been going on. You don't even need the media. That's why I was saying I don't blame the media. Totally. Of course, the media is evil and doing a lot of harm to innocent people, period. Regardless of their race, American natives, media trying to instigate them to get a pipeline put in where it's a lot of evil going on. But look at the people and the decisions they're making, the lives they're living. You see, so for me, it's ego driven. And fear is caused by ego. It's causing ego. And on that note, I think we dropped a lot of jewels. We hope y'all can chime in with us. You know what I'm saying? Get your deep experience sometime. And sometime we just gonna be kicking, having fun. We ain't gonna all that. You know what I'm saying? This is the entertainment, edutainment segment, and we talked about ego and fear going forward in 2024. She dropped the jewels. I just gave a lot of opinions and views. I just gotta keep it real. But that's me. I'm Davidemetri, live in color, and
Aly.
We dropped it. And again, this is CASHAPP on New Year's Eve. Now we get to go party. Yeah, love every time. And you know we did this for y'all. Start tuning in. Go to Davidemetri Live in Color on YouTube.com. Stay checked in. Check with me, Davidemetri Live in Color on X, formerly known as Twitter. You know what I'm saying? And Davidemetri.com for our film Outline and for the book Outline to Empower. And check with us. We got more productions coming soon. Join in. Love every time. Happy New Year's for y'all and y'all New Year. Ours starting spring because we keep the ancient, committed, and indigenous lifestyle. But we still celebrate the New Year with y'all. Bring it in. Mashing the place up. As for the future, check with me. You know I got to keep the vibes, give the vibes, receive the vibes. This is your channel, so tune in.
Davidemetri is lighting color, light in color.